cuts, heading and thinning. If this is all you know, you're well on your way. It gets a little more complicated for professionals. We do subordinating cuts and reduction cuts and so on and so on. But it really all boils down to the same kind of thing. Heading cuts and thinning cuts. A thinning cut is where a branch is removed to its point of origin. Okay? No stub. So in this case, here, if I want to thin this out a little bit, I've got a couple of options. So I'm kind of liking this area here. I'm going to take that out. So I'm going right back to the point of origin, right there to make my cut. Okay? If I didn't care or hadn't attended this class, I might say, what? I'll just cut it out here. Who cares if there's a stub? Well, the problem is, if you make a heading cut here, there's something called the hydra effect. When you top a tree or you make a heading cut, it encourages growth. So if I make a heading cut right there, it's just going to be clogged up again the next year. A thinning cut accomplishes the task if you want to thin. I think I have, well, so again, heading or thinning, same thing. If I cut this off right here, that's a heading cut. And it really doesn't do you any good. New growth is going to come out from that very spot. So heading cuts are good. They're not, if you're trying to do some detailed pruning on a tree, heading cuts don't work. It'll make it more crowded. Does it serve a purpose in a fruit tree? Yeah, we're trying to get some fruiting spurs to form here. I know that next year I can come in and do, once this is sprouted some up here, I can do a little thinning down here. There's an ongoing process with fruit trees and a lot of others, like hydrangeas. We're pruning these things. We're making these heading cuts with a purpose. It would be the same thing if I was holding a rose cane. Let's just pretend this is a rose cane, and that these buds are all thorns, or not thorns, but rose buds. They're starting to swell right now. I don't know how many of you have roses, but you'll notice that right where at the base of where leaves used to be or still are, you'll see a swelling. That's a node. That's where you would cut back to, just above a node on a rose bush, to encourage growth. If we cut back to, just like here. I don't know who did this. Somebody made a choice to cut right here. The response was, whoever it was, wanted this branch to go this way. If it were a rose, that would be headed away from the plant, the center of the plant, and up here somewhere you'd have a flower or several. So heading cuts encourage growth that you want with certain things. If you're just making them indiscriminately, you're asking for trouble. So thinning cuts are the way to go more often than not. I want to interrupt for just a second. I didn't mention these books. This doesn't have anything to do with pruning, about teaching about pruning, but this is a great book, Month by Month Gardening in Washington and Oregon. Some of you are probably familiar with this. Mary Robeson, who I think lives in Fort Townsend, local author and very experienced local gardener. So you're getting local information about January through December. So, and I'll pass these around. I brought 4 pruning books. An Illustrated Guide to Pruning by Edward Gilman. This is a great book. It's only about trees, and it's aimed more at professionals than it is homeowners. It talks about, he's a professor at the University of Florida, so he talks about palm trees. And you don't need to worry about those here. He also mentions how to prune young trees for growers, for the people that supply trees to nurseries. And most people don't need to know that either. This is the book I carry with me most of the time. This is my go-to book when I'm out in the field. It's the American Horticultural Society, Pruning and Training. This is the second edition. There is a third edition, and it's a soft back book. Believe it or not, Orthos, all about pruning. This is not a bad book. Thin, but it's short and to the point. I don't think there's any bad information in that book. Another local author, Cass Turnbull, wrote this one. She also, and so I kind of like these people that we have that are experienced with our climate, the way our plants grow and respond. I like the fact that they are writing books. Cass is, I have quoted numerous times, she wouldn't talk about spring pruning. She would say to prune whenever the shears are sharp, which is not a bad way to go. She also says, if you're pruning right, you're not pruning wrong. Or, if you're pruning at the right, I sound like George Bush, I know. I'm going to come back to this book. It'll come to me. In fact, it might even be in there. So the two that I would recommend are the American Horticultural Society book and Cass Turnbull's book. If you want to do some book shopping, those are two good books. Okay. I've got my 5 Ds listed. I think the 3 Ds traditionally was the way that people talk about pruning, dead, diseased, and damaged. I've had a duplicate. This, for example, would be duplicate. You've got 2 branches in basically the same area, right here. You don't really need both of those there. So we can take one of those out and eliminate that duplicate situation. Directionally challenged, that would be something like this. A branch that's gone haywire, that either started out here and turned this way for some reason, or there are lots of plants and trees that are not symmetrical. Plum trees, for example, the Asian plums, they go every which way. There's no rhyme or reason to them. So we work a lot on directionally challenged limbs. So, dead, disease, damage, duplicate, directionally challenged, the 5 Ds, yes?
Could you go right back to that branch that you have and show us that in that duplicate situation, exactly where would you make your cut on that one?
Well, I would either make a heading cut, or since I know these trees are going to keep growing and I want to control the size, I might take the tallest one off. I've still got a duplicate situation here, but I'm not too concerned about this little thing. Over time, and with fruit trees and a lot of other things, hydrangeas, Japanese maples, you can't fix them all in 1 year. It takes this. I also, and Cass Turnbull didn't say this, but it's worth repeating. If you do the dishes every day, it's not a big deal. If you wait 5 days to do the dishes, you've got a mess. The same is true with hydrangeas or apple trees or spirea. Anything that you've got growing in your life, there are no plants that do exactly what you want without you touching them. You have to do some maintenance. Which brings up the idea of a nursery that specializes in plastic plants. That's low maintenance.